of one of the purple prayer books. This is on page 90. God is my strength and my song and has become my salvation. Ozi Simo Hatia Vayehili Vishua Ozi Simo Hatia Vayehili Vishua Ozi Simo Hatia Vayehili Vishua Ozi Bezimadia Vayehili Vishua Ozi Bezimadia Vayehili Vishua Bezimaratia Vayehili Lishua Ozi Bezimaratia Vayehili Lishua Ozi Bezimaratia Vayehili Vishua Ozi Bezimadia Vayehili Vishua Ozi Bezimadia Vayehili Vishua. So we sing most of our prayers in Hebrew, and being a music guy, I tend to focus on the music more than I focus on the words. But the words in Hebrew, even if you don't focus on the meaning of them or know the meaning of them, they resonate in a way that gives you that connects you to a spiritual plane that's a little different than prose and then just the content of the words themselves. So if you don't know Hebrew, which most of us don't, try to just let the words wash over you and feel the shapes of them. This next song is on page 2, and it means how good and pleasant it is for friends to sit together. Hine matov manai shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov manai shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov manai shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov manai shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov manai shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov manai shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Especially right now, in the midst of mourning, this prayer resonates. It means how good and sweet it is to sit together as brothers and sisters. My name is Josh Clayman. I am the co-president and a lay leader in the Jackson Hole Jewish community. I am overwhelmed by seeing so many people here tonight. I want to share my deepest and heartfelt gratitude for everyone being here. Thanks to the Jewish communities of Jackson Hole for coming together tonight. Thanks to St. John's Episcopal Church and priest Jimmy Bartz and their community for being here tonight. Thanks to clergy and leaders of other faith communities that have gathered here tonight. And most broadly, thanks to friends and community members and leaders from throughout the community who have joined us. There's a lot of stuff going on at St. John's tonight. A lot of stuff. Jimmy, would you just give us a little context for what's going on?
Some of you may be wondering what this sort of fantastic art altar piece is behind us here, and I just want to bring it to your attention that in our faith community and in the Latino community here in Jackson Hole, today we celebrate Dia de los Muertos, which is a remembrance of those who have gone before us, those who we love, who have died. And on Sunday in our church, St. John's, we'll celebrate All Saints' Day, which is the way that we as Episcopalians remember that day and that experience as well. So I just didn't want anyone to be taken aback by the skeletons that are around the church today. Josh and I were talking this morning, and it's somewhat of a terrible coincidence that we come together to remember these 11 fallen people at almost the same moment that our community remembers those who have died from last Feast of All Saints up until Sunday. So that's the explanation for this art piece that is here behind us. And as Josh already said, a warm welcome to all of you. It's wonderful to see so many people in this building tonight. I feel as though tonight we're guests of the Jewish community in this place, because this is your place at certain times. So thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thank you, Jimmy. So we gather here for a number of reasons tonight, and it's important for me to share those. First and foremost, we gather because tonight is the Jewish Sabbath. Shabbat Shalom. May you have a peaceful Sabbath. Even in the midst of unconscionable acts of hatred, we continue our practice. We gather to honor and mourn those members of the Tree of Life Synagogue whose opportunity to celebrate this Shabbat and future Shabbats was taken away. We remember them with the 11 flames that are in front of us here, made by our dear friend and Jackson Hole Jewish Community Board member Lori Thal. And we gather to demonstrate unity and solidarity, as Jews and non-Jews alike, standing together in prayer and support. We gather to bring light to darkness. We'll start this by one of the best ways I know how to bring light into the world, through authentic connections and community. What I'd ask us to do is let's begin this Shabbat the way in which we begin many of our Shabbats in the Jackson Hole Jewish community, the way in which many of Jimmy's congregants gather to begin your Sabbath, by turning to our brothers and sisters by sharing a warm hello. By introducing yourself, find someone you don't know. And most importantly, wish each other either a Shabbat Shalom, our traditional greeting on this day, or as I've learned is the practice within this congregation, peace be with you. Please do so. Judd, did you do most of this? It's talking about what the nature of the service is. Some things are in Hebrew. You kind of did that?
I just gave a little Hebrew thing.
So should I do it again?
Yeah.
Okay. How long should I let this last? Okay? Yeah. Let's gather back. I'm a teacher by training, and it is one of the hardest things to gather people back from really meaningful dialogue. As part Shabbat service and part memorial, we will engage in a number of prayers and rituals and traditions that might be new to our non-Jewish friends. As Judd shared, as Jimmy and I were walking in, it's a couple of things. It's my request that if you are Jewish, that tonight we sing with spirit and with ruach. If you are not Jewish, you may find something spiritual in Judd's singing of ancient prayer. I always have. Judd is our amazing chazan, our spiritual and song leader in the Jackson Hole Jewish community. So I invite you to listen deeply. And in doing so, perhaps get to know your brothers and sisters in this community who might be a bit different from you in a more intimate way. We'd like to invite up Judd, and he'll invite up folks to start the Shabbat the way we always start our Shabbats, by lighting candles.
Starting by lighting the candles on page 1, and Rose Novak, would you like to come up and light the candles? Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who made us holy with your commandments and commanded us to kindle the Sabbath light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת. Thanks, Rose. I know we don't have enough books for everybody because we're a small congregation and there's a lot of people here. We're on page 16 for the Barhu, which is the call to prayer. And we'll rise and face our ark, which contains the Torah.
Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vayeh.
Bless Adonai, the Blessed One. Blessed be Adonai, the Blessed One forever and ever. Please stay standing for the Shema. This is one of the central prayers of Judaism, which declares that God is one. It's on page 17, if you have a book. And traditionally, we sing the first line, Hear Israel, Adonai our God, Adonai is one. We sing it loud. And the second line, blessed is the name of God's glorious majesty forever and ever. We sing quieter because it talks about majesty, it talks about kings, and Jews have lived usually not in their own homeland where there was a king who didn't like it when we called God king. So we had to be a little quiet about that.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vayed. You may be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך ושתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
And you are to love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. These words that I command you today shall be upon your heart. You should teach them to your children, speak of them when you sit in your house and when you go on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand, and let them be a symbol between your eyes. Write them upon the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. On page 22 is the traditional evening prayer. It says, lay us down, Adonai, our God, in peace, and awaken us, our ruler, to life.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Hamidenu Malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Hamidenu Malkeinu l'chaim. Ushmor tziteinu Shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Ushmor tziteinu uvoeinu l'chaim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hamidenu Malkeinu L'chaim.
The next prayer is a traditional standing prayer where we stand. A rabbi explained to me, yes, you may rise. A rabbi explained to me, people asked him, why are we always standing in our services? And it's because the Orthodox Jews do much longer services where there's a lot of sitting and a lot of standing at the important parts. Since we're a little less Orthodox, we do shorter services and end up standing the whole time. This prayer begins with us asking God to open our lips and help us make a good prayer. I think it's a great start when you're not sure how to pray. If you have a prayer book, we are on page 25. Actually, page 26, and you can read the prayers that are in the book. What I usually do is I have my own kind of prayer that I've made up and pieced together, and I say it to myself. Or you can meditate, but there's a time after I sing this introductory prayer where we just stand together silently praying. And it's really nice to have a large group of people in silence, sort of focusing on something higher, and that's a nice part of our service. So once you're done praying, people will start to sit down, and then we'll rejoin with the song. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 Adonai. Svatai tiftach, na 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 ufiagi tebilatecha, na 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 Svatai tiftach, na 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 ufiagi tehilatecha. on page 31. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing before you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. יהיו לרצון אמרפי והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרפי והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צולי, אדוני צולי, Adonai Tzuli v'goali. Adonai Tzuli, Adonai Tzuli, Adonai Tzuli v'goali. Yehiyu l'ratzon imlefi v'hegion libi lefanecha. Yehiyu l'ratzon imlefi v'hegion libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuli, Adonai tzuli, Adonai tzuli v'goali. Adonai tzuli, Adonai tzuli, Adonai tzuli v'goali. This is the part of the service where we sing a prayer of healing, and we mention the names of folks that we feel could benefit from healing, and from the whole congregation hearing their names if it feels like it's appropriate and that they would like you to do that. And Josh has some names from Pittsburgh to start with.
The 6 police officers injured while bravely responding at the Tree of Life Synagogue. Daniel Mead, Michael Smidga, Anthony Burke, Timothy Matson, John Person, and Tyler Pichelle, and the 2 congregants who were injured but survived, Andrea Wedner, Daniel Ledger.
If anyone would like to mention a name, you may do so.
Ron Bates.
David Goldfarb, Devorah Chaya Bat Miriam Betzidov. Yes.
This is a prayer written by Alden Solovoy. God of the mourner and the witness, grant solace and peace to those still held by the physical, emotional, and spiritual distress from acts of terror. Remember now those who are suffering from trauma after the attack at Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. Release them from the visions of death and destruction. Release them from guilt or shame, from fear or anger. Bind their wounds with your steadfast love. Lift them on your wings of kindness and grace. Blessed are those who have found peace. Blessed are those without tranquility. Blessed are those who speak. Blessed are those who stay silent. Blessed are those who have healed. Blessed are those who suffer. Blessed are those who forgive. Blessed are those who cannot forgive. Blessed are you, God of healing, source of strength for survivors of violence and tragedy in every land and every age. Blessed are you, source of hope and comfort.
It's traditional for us to open our ark when we do the Misha Berach prayer, which is on page 130. And this prayer calls upon our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, to grant us healing. Please rise. Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, Yivarech, v'Yirapeh et hacholim. Ena refana, ena refana, ena refana, ena refana. Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, Yivarech, v'Yirapeh et hacholim. Thank you. You may be seated.
We're moving to the time of the service where Jimmy and I are going to share a few words. And there is childcare if you want to bring your kiddos over there, but we fully welcome kiddos to stay and be close to you. I just wanted to give that offering if it's of interest. But we encourage you, if you'd like to have them close by, to keep them close by. Just as there are a number of churches in Jackson, there are two Jewish communities that are actively participating and practicing in Jackson Hole as well. And on Monday, Rabbi Zalman and his wife Razy, our Jewish brothers and sisters, who lead Chabad Wyoming, hosted a meaningful vigil in their home, and it was attended by Jews and non-Jews alike, and this was needed. This was needed. It was needed to be united against anti-Semitism as an entire Jewish community. On Monday night and tonight, as I shared, there are Jews and non-Jews present. This is needed to show solidarity, to show strength against anti-Semitism and hatred as a Jackson Hole community. So we sit here together. Jimmy, a dear friend and a fellow faith leader in Jackson, in a sanctuary where both of our communities pray and have for a long time. Jewish and Christian, yarmulke and talis.
Stole, collar.
Could be the start of a really good joke.
Could be.
And as Jimmy and I were thinking about this evening, we thought we would simply share with you how we're feeling and where we move from here. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Jimmy's been at this for a much longer time than I, so he doesn't need notes. I still do.
Well, I haven't been at this.
Yeah. Yeah. This is, as Jimmy knows, and as many people who are here tonight knows, this is intensely personal for me. My mom and dad live in Pittsburgh. They live 4 blocks from the Tree of Life Synagogue in Squirrel Hill. They are members of a congregation that meets at Tree of Life. This is the synagogue where 11 people were killed last Shabbat on Saturday. They were killed because they were Jewish. My mom and dad are safe. My dad was traveling. My mom was walking her brand new puppy. Less than a year ago, I went to Saturday morning services at Tree of Life Synagogue. We were going to honor my grandfather on the anniversary of his death, and this is in Judaism. It's called the Yartzeit. And I went with my father, and I remember it very vividly. I remember walking in, and it's an older congregation, the congregation where we visited at Tree of Life. I remember very vividly 2 brothers meeting us at the door, Cecil and David Rosenthal. I remember because they handed me a prayer book. This is the first time this has ever happened to me, where a prayer book was handed to me and it was open to the page where we were in the service. We were late. Common trait of my family and lots of us Jews at times. Maybe that's an interfaith trait too, I'm not sure. But I remember it vividly, and I remember how welcoming they were to us. I remember sitting in the back of the synagogue, and I remember seeing some older congregants in front of us. And I remember thinking, I imagine they have been sitting in those same seats for decades. For decades.
I was telling Josh this morning that we have that same group of people in our congregation. They just go to the 8 o'clock service.
Yeah. As Jimmy and I were talking about this, I had these fond and very, very distinct memories from just a year ago. And what I've come to realize is that I prayed with those that died. I prayed with those that died. I asked my mom to share with me her thoughts to bring to our community tonight, and this is what she had to say. My heart is broken. There is an emptiness, a reaching out to nothingness that I cannot explain. Our lives have changed, and our community is scared in a way we can only comprehend when it happens to us. We all know pain, loss, fear. This is different. And this is frailty, a questioning with no answer, a breach in our faith which for some gets stronger and for others turn away with disbelief. It only becomes real when it happens to you. This has obviously impacted my mom and dad very deeply, and it has impacted me deeply as a Jew, as a father, as a son, as a teacher. And the quote that has resonated with me, and I felt deeply in the last week, and Jimmy and I have talked about this, was shared by a rabbi at one of the memorials in Pittsburgh. And he shared that now there will always be a time before the shooting and a time after. That's how I feel right now.
My personal involvement with this violent event unfolded over the course of a few days. On Saturday, the news came to me slowly over Saturday. We didn't talk about this morning, but on Saturday I was at Murray Ranch with my staff and our vestry, which is a fancy Episcopal word for board, and we were meeting, and that's a place that you introduced me to, and Chris welcomed us out there and hosted us, and so the news of this event came to me rather slowly on Saturday night, and I got up on Sunday morning, and I was a mess trying to figure out how to incorporate this tragedy again, and it hadn't landed for me personally yet. And then heading into our 8 o'clock service, a mutual friend of ours, Patria, said, "You know, this is Josh's family's house of worship. And I said, no, I had no idea. And I called you in between services, and I left you a message, and then we chatted after we had our church on Sunday, and we began to think about how we might come together as two or more communities this evening. But there was another layer of personal that landed either, I don't remember if it was Sunday evening or Monday, when I was listening to the news, and I heard again those names that you mentioned, David and Cecil Rosenthal, and I heard that that they were brothers and that they had special needs. And when I heard that they were brothers, I just got a pit in my stomach, because I knew. And then they flashed a picture of those two up, and I saw the characteristics of this long face and those protruding ears that are so familiar to me, because my 17-year-old has Fragile X syndrome, which was the same disorder that David and Cecil lived with. And I've struggled as a faith leader about how to talk about acts of mass violence, and in particular this anti-Semitic act. And I did that rather clumsily on Sunday morning, but I've also struggled as a parent of a child with special needs. I've worried because I know that my son Jas is rather helpless. His teacher, Dane, calls Jas a peacemaker, and he is. And I suppose that David and Cecil were peacemakers too. So I sit here today as a faith leader, struggling to make sense of this, but I also am struggling as a dad, of a child with special needs, and also a dad of a child who is developing regularly, sometimes even too quickly for me to handle. But it sure is nice to be in this room together.
Yeah. Jimmy, we were talking about what do we do?
Yeah.
What do we do? And I think, as we've talked about, that question is a struggle. What do we do? Shortly after Saturday, Julie Trachtenberg, a dear friend in the Jackson Hole Jewish community, reached out with a beautiful note and message, as did many people in the Jewish community and in the non-Jewish community, sharing their support and love and solidarity and unity. And Julie sent along with her a video. It was a video taken, a news clip. It was a video taken at a vigil that was held at a Jewish day school just a block away from the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. And at the very end of the video, there was a clip of her cousin, her 13-year-old cousin. And as I think about what we do, what he shared in that clip spoke to me, and I want to share it to everyone here. AJ is his name, and he shared the following: "We should not come home scared, and we should not practice our religion in fear. We should not stand for this." And as I've struggled to figure out what to do, that resonated with me. And it resonated for a couple of reasons, and I think it's why we're here tonight. That none of us should go home scared. None of us should practice our religion in fear. And as a community, we shouldn't stand for this. AJ's 13. He's 13. I'm a teacher, right? When a 13-year-old says that, it hits home. And for me, and I think we can all agree, if our kids are telling us that we can't stand for this, then as a community we need to do something. It's our responsibility as a community to come together. No matter our differences, no matter how we pray, and we can't stand for this. And I think we come together to create a world in which we hope to raise our children in. And I think we need to do this together. I think it takes all of us to do this work. And so, as we thought about what do we do, I think we come together in mourning because that's what we do, to honor those that have died. And we come together in community, in unity, and in solidarity, and in support, and we stand in opposition to anti-Semitism and hatred. And I think it starts tonight, and we talked a lot about this, that it just starts tonight. And it starts tonight by building bonds amongst each other, and at the end of the service by breaking bread together. My mom's a chef, a Jewish chef. And when I don't know exactly what to do, I typically move to food.
My mom's a non-Jewish chef. As we were talking on Wednesday about what to do, and I was reminded of this story that's a part of our shared narrative. It comes from Exodus 12, and it's one that I've sort of longed to incorporate in our own Christian practices, but the story narrates instruction about how to eat the Passover meal. And it's very directive. Maybe you remember it in its traditional language. It says you eat the Passover meal with your loins girded and your sandals tied and a staff in your hand, and you eat that meal in haste. And when I think about that in our own context, I think, belt buckled, shoelaces tied, and backpack zipped up and on. It's Jackson, so we know backpacks. And we do it in haste. And I'm, as a spiritual leader or a religious leader, I don't often encourage our congregation to do anything in haste. But I think this is one of those moments where we might do something in haste. That we might engage in that practice, that we might manifest ourselves in such a way that our belt is buckled and our shoes are tied and our backpack is zipped, so that we are ready to deploy love and healing and nurture and connection and offer prayer and hope in areas of our community where those things are in need, where they're not readily available or readily found or obvious in any way. And so that's sort of what I've been thinking about over the course of the last few days, that shared story of ours. Belt buckled, shoelaces tied, backpack zipped. Ready to roll. Ready to spread some love.
Yeah. And I think, Jimmy, as we've talked, being here tonight with so many people from diverse backgrounds together in unity and solidarity, it feels like we're ready to spread that love. And what we'd like to do, and Jimmy and I have talked about this, tonight we'll break bread together. At the end of this service, our Jewish community kids are going to come down into the center aisle, and we're all going to get together as one community, in unity, in solidarity, breaking bread. And Kaylin and I have invited Jimmy and his family to our house to continue that. They're going to come over for a Shabbat. We're going to break bread together. We're going to explore our differences and our similarities, our traditions and our faiths, and we're going to deepen the bond that we've already had. And we encourage you all to do the same. To break bread together as a community, and in doing so strengthen bonds that already exist. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Now, before we move forward on breaking bread, it's important that we mourn those we've lost. And that's the portion of the service we're moving towards now.
The traditional prayer at a memorial is called El Malei Rachamim. Please rise. The names of the people that passed away at the Tree of Life Synagogue are Joyce Feinberg, Richard Gottfried, Rose Mallinger, Jerry Rabinowitz, Cecil Rosenthal, David Rosenthal, Bernice Simon, Sylvan Simon, Daniel Stein, Melvin Wax, and Irving Younger.
אל מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים המשם לך נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מסעירים את נשמות כל אלה שהזכרנו היום ואת נשמות כל אחינו בני ישראל שמסרו נפשם על קדושת השם בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לא עלמים ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתם אדוני הוא נחלתם וינוחו על משכבותם בשלום ונאמר Amen.
O God in heaven, filled with compassion for those you bring into this world, grant complete repose to the souls of all those we are remembering today, and to all your people who have given their lives to sanctify your name. Sheltered by your divine wings, may they join the company of the holy and pure who shine as bright as heaven. Bring their souls into the bond of life, that with you as their portion, they may repose in peace. Amen. Our closing prayers for our service are on page 41. We remain standing.
עלינו לשבח לדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגיא הארצות, ולא עשמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. We're on page 43 now. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 44. This is a real central prayer for Judaism. And we say it at almost every service that I can think of, where we recognize those that have passed on. And instead of saying a prayer that's full of lamentation, it's a prayer that's full of praise for God, and to remember, as our family's theme is, remember the good things. And that is part of our Jewish tradition, is to remember the good things. So if you'd like to mention the name of someone that's passed on before we do this prayer, this is the time to do that.
David Rubin. I think so.
David Figueroa.
From our community, Dr. Stuart Joel Abrams, Todd Bergstein, Alan Doss, Alan Hirschfield, Susan Herman, David Holmes, Jeff Joel, Stephen Capello, Phil Claney, Hillary Leberfeld, Jan Levinson, Sally Mortensen, Larry Reeser, Ron Sapol, Scott Stachel, David Turkier, Arthur Fracht, Emmy Knobloch, David Kornblum. And once again from the Tree of Life, Joyce Feinberg, Richard Gottfried, Joyce Mallinger, Jerry Rabinowitz, Cecil Rosenthal, David Rosenthal, Bernice Simon, Sylvan Simon, Daniel Stein, Melvin Wax, Irvin Younger. I'm on page 44. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabah B'yamad yivrach yotev yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'yamechon u'v'chaye decho beit Yisrael b'agala v'zman kari v'emeru amen. Yehe shmei rabba mevarach le'alam umei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabak v'yitpa'a v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudisha b'richu. Le'el amin ko birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata damiran b'alma v'emeru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'emeru amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'emeru amen. May the great name be made great and holy in the world created according to divine will. May the One's rule be established in your lifetimes and in your days, and in the lifetimes of all the house of Israel, speedily and in a short time, and say amen. May the great name be blessed in all worlds forever and ever. Blessed, lauded, glorified, exalted, extolled, beautified, raised up, and praised be the name of the blessed Holy One. Beyond all blessing and song, praise and consolation that are said in the world, and say amen. May there be a great peace from the heavens, with life for us and all Israel, and say Amen. May the one who makes peace in the heavens make peace for us and for all Israel and all who dwell on the earth. And let us say Amen.
Ose shalom imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ose shalom imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael. 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 Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael.
We're almost done. It's time to bless the wine. It's not a Jewish event without some wine. It's part of the deal. It's the good stuff in life, the good things.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, creator of the fruit of the vine. And now our tradition, when we bless the bread, the challah, which is the last thing we do before we're done with our religious duties, is we get our kids to hold the challah. And since we can't all connect ourselves to the actual bread, we connect ourselves to people that are connected to the bread.
So we're going to invite folks, by doing so, come close. If you're near the aisle, come into the aisle. And what we need to do is we need to, if we can, put our hands on the bread. Oh, some kiddos move down that way. Yes, spread out along the aisle. Viv, go right there.
Oh, got it.
And friends, come close. Everyone come close. Come into the aisle if you're close. And our hope is that everyone can find a place to either touch the bread that's being held by our children, or touch someone who is touching the bread,
so we all get connected.
Someone who's touching the bread.
We are connecting like one community, because that's what we are. I'm so proud of our Jackson Hole community for gathering together and honoring diversity and religious freedom and supporting. Thank you so much for supporting the Jewish community.
Yes.
We're very grateful.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, who brings forth bread from the earth. Thank you so much. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom. Friends, here's the trick. Now we all have to eat a piece of bread. There's also cookies if folks want to stay and stay in fellowship and create stronger bonds. But rip that bread. Rip away.